Hey guys, what's up? If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. My name is Indigo, and today I want to sit here and talk to you guys a little bit more about why I left Christianity. Now, I'm not trying to drag this whole thing out like too much, but it's been about a year and a half, I think, since I posted the part 2 of why I left. And I recently got in contact with somebody from my church days, and they were kind of just talking. We were talking about, growing up in the church and, where we are now, just basically catching up or whatever. And it brought up all of these, I don't want to say emotions because it's not really emotions, but there was so much evidence of how much I've changed that I got to see that I wasn't particularly aware of. And I feel like these are some of the underlying reasons why I left, that I didn't have words for at the time that I did, and now that I can give voice to them, maybe we're going to talk about it. So without further ado, we're just going to jump straight into it. I got a list. I wrote it all down so I don't forget anything. So if you see me looking down, like, that's what's going on. But I would say the biggest, I won't say the biggest, but I think one of the first things that I really kind of began to deconstruct the farther away from the church I got was the fact that I had no identity outside of being a Christian. Because I grew up in this environment, my mom was very deep off in the church, and we very much lived our lives around, church and Christianity and serving God and all these things. I became like a puppet. And I don't even say, no, not a puppet, that's the wrong word. I became a shell of who I am. Merely me existing in this body, and everything else was church doctrine, church thoughts, church feelings, church actions. Like, I literally had no real sense of self. And while there were moments that I can remember, spurts of me coming through, like in my music or how I chose to dress and things like that, ultimately the entirety of me was church. And I remember the first time that I really got away from everything, and it was the most frightening thing ever, because here I am, a person who has lived literally her entire life within church. And so that's, at the time I left, I think I was 20, 21, somewhere right in there, and I'm stepping away, and it's just like, okay, if I'm not this good Christian girl who follows all the rules and never does anything wrong, then who the hell am I? Who am I supposed to be now? Which, that was a very daunting task to undertake, is figuring out who I am. That was super hard. And even now, I do still sometimes find some things that I say or will do have a churchy background. I don't have the same thought processes, but I don't think I'll ever escape the fact that I definitely grew up in the church, and with that being said, I think a big part of me also hated myself, because there were so many little aspects of me that I wasn't really able to express, and so I buried them deep down, and I brought forth everything that the church and this Christian God wanted to see out of me, and quite often I hated who I was being. I hated showing up and not really talking about the things that I wanted to talk about, or not questioning things in the way that I wanted to, because you shouldn't question God or whatever. I hated the fact that I was so far off into this. And truth be told, like, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, there was always a part of me that wasn't completely sold with what I was being told. There was always a part of me that was conscious enough to know that a lot of what I was being taught was incorrect. But due to pressures from my church people, family, and friends, because this is what, you know, everybody around me is literally a Christian, I cast those doubts aside and I just walked in what everybody else was walking in order for me to be better accepted, which didn't really work, because I still stood out like a sore thumb. But, you know, it is what it is. But I definitely, like, hated myself, and it got even more pronounced for just a bit once I came out of Christianity, just because I realized I wasted so much of my time trying to buy into this thing and to be this perfect person that I was never going to be, mind you. Uplifting and adhering to these standards that were set for me by people who honestly don't even really know themselves, you know? Like, that was really hard for me to, like, come out. And so I lived for the first, when I finally really became aware of it, I lived for like 15 years just literally hating myself, hating everything that I stood for and all of that. Yeah. Another reason that I had to distance myself, and I'm glad that I did, is Christianity is riddled with rituals and, dare I say, witchcraft. Dare we say witchcraft. And I was, like, practicing that. Like, the biggest one, and to me the one that is just, like, it's mind-blowing that I actually did this, was baptism, bro. Like, is that a frog? Oh no, it's a cricket. But yes, it's baptism. Like, do you realize that when you get baptized, you are literally dying to your true self and accepting a false sense of self that is acceptable and malleable to the will of other people? That is the purpose of baptism, straightforward. Like, there are these aspects of you, and though you might find a problem with them, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, you know, beforehand. And you come into Christianity and they want to wash away your sins and, you know, wipe the slate clean, basically. Baptism is an act of literally erasing everything that makes you you and coming into a form where you will be easily pliable, and you will take on these aspects of a good Christian that were ultimately given to you so that you can push the agenda of the Christian God. And I fell victim to this mind fuckery. Not to mention, you know, every first Sunday they're having communion where you're eating the blood, or you're drinking the blood of Christ and eating his body. And that's supposed to be like symbolic of what? Some cannibalistic ass shit? Like, yes, I understand it's supposed to be a way to remember him, da 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 da. No, why are you metaphorically consuming these aspects of this person? Or, I'm sorry, why are you metaphorically consuming these physical parts of this person so that you can take on his spirit? Like, what? Why do you want to take on anybody else's spirit? Why is that a goal or a thing? Why don't you want to just be yourself? You know? And I've really been, like, thinking about all of this. Like, this person really has me just reminiscing about all of the foolishness that I used to partake in and be a part of. Like, it's crazy, you know. And then you have the whole Easter ritual where every year you're symbolically, you know, killing a man over and over again. For what? You know? I don't know, it's just a lot. Like, so that's another one. And this kind of ties back into like the whole me, like, self-hatred and no identity thing, but my self-esteem was in the fucking gutter as a Christian. Like, it was in the gutter. Like, as I got older and I really started to pay attention while we were in church, one of the main points that I remember being brought up was that the only thing that makes me worthy as a person is because Jesus chooses to love me. You know, I remember it being said often, you know, in so many different Christian songs and different pastors saying it or whatever, but we're not worthy of living. We're not worthy of being here, but God. And if you have to hear that every Sunday, day in, day out, if you are listening to these songs, you know, throughout the week, if much of what you are reading in scripture revolves around this whole concept, you know, that, again, you are less than, you are nothing. It is this person outside of you and this entity outside of you that gives you value and gives you worth. What do you think? Like, is it any wonder that I hated myself? Is it any wonder that my self-esteem was like ass? Not to mention all of the bullshit I experienced in the church with people, which I talked about before. There was no self-love there. There was no true understanding of me and just how beautiful I am. There was no way I could be me. I could be really happy, you know. It was like, and this will lead into my last point, but it was like everything and everybody else came before me, you know. I wasn't allowed to really express the greatest act of self-love, which is selfishness. Like, I know selfishness absolutely was one of those things that we were told was bad, that you're not supposed to be selfish, you're supposed to share, and you think of others before you think of yourself, and da-da-da-da-da. And that's the biggest load of bullshit I done ever heard in my life. Like, what do you mean I'm supposed to put these other people before me? If I'm not here and I don't exist, how am I supposed to go out and help anybody? You know? That was the whole purpose of Christ, right? He came and he died for all these other people. He was thinking about everybody else and not himself, right? The biggest example that we have been given is an example of self-sacrifice. So I'm supposed to be like Christ in that I put everything and everybody else's needs before my own? I think the fuck not. I'm so sorry about it. No. And you know, I get this question all the time, will you ever, or I get, not the question, but I see these people all the time telling me, oh, you'll come back to Christ, you'll come back to church, blah, 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 blah. No, I won't. Been there, done that, got the fucking t-shirt and have the scars to prove it. I absolutely will not go back to Christianity. Like, there is so much that I have been able to overcome outside of Christianity. I used to think, like, in my mind, because I went to church and because I, you know, read my Bible all of these times, I prayed to God, I had a relationship with this Christian God, you know, that made me a good person. Meanwhile, I'm going around judging everybody, looking down on people for how they choose to live their lives. I am choosing to actively isolate myself from people who I know can actually help me, but because they're not Christian, I don't want to have anything to do with them. I was a fucking bigot, like, as a Christian, looking down on everybody and everything that had nothing, like, that was not a Christian or was not associated with the Christian church. Like, the best thing that ever happened to me was me walking away from Christianity. And I will shout that from the fucking rooftops. And I will be the first one to tell you that every single time. The absolute best thing I have ever done for myself, for my self-worth, for the world at large, was walking away from Christianity, because that is a religion that will literally consume you. I was consumed. I was being actively consumed in Christianity. Why would I want to go back to that? Why would I want to go back to that? Why would I subject myself to that same mind trap? Why would I subject myself to that same mind trap and get caught up in all of that foolishness again? Who does that help? Me being a Christian, like, literally, who does that help? What does it do? Uphold a doctrine? Make me look good in the eyes of other people? The population at large, because, you know, most people choose to be Christian? Absolutely not. I'm not in a place anymore where I am willing. That is a beautiful big yellow butterfly. Sorry, side note. But I'm not in a place anymore where I'm willing to bend to the will and to the beliefs of others. I'm not willing to go back and to get caught up in the mind trap again. Like, Christianity is a big mind trap, and it keeps you looking outside of yourself for all of the answers when everything that you need lies within you. I'm not willing to give that understanding and that knowledge up. I'm not going to. At this point, I literally can't give that up. It would be death for me to try and squeeze myself back into that box. And I value myself too much, and all of the hell that I've had to go through to get myself out of this box to ever go back into it. And this is no hate, no shade, or anything to anybody that might still, you know, find themselves within the church, or who might still live, you know, in that place where they need Christianity. But for me, and for where it is that I'm going, what it is that I see for myself, and how I am moving forward in the world, in order for me to honor where I am right now, no. I honor, and I'm grateful for the experience, because I would not be who I am, and I wouldn't have the depth of understanding that I do without having grown up in Christianity. But I can with my head held high, with my shoulders tucked back, and with a big smile on my face, I can walk away, because I am truly and utterly happy, you know? Like I said, the farther away from it I get, the farther out from Christianity I get, and it's just like the deeper my understanding of how it kept me down. Like, that understanding just, it gets so much clearer and so much deeper with every single day. And like, for me, that's not life anymore, you know? anybody who's still in it, like I said, no hate, no shade. You know, I'm not here to convince anybody to leave Christianity or nothing like that. That's not my place, you know, that's not my journey. My only purpose is to share. And that's what I'm doing. So thank you for being here and to listening to me rant for 20 minutes about, you know, why I left. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up button. It helps me out so much in this wonderful world of YouTube. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. I am here pretty much when I feel the need to be, and right now I feel the need to be here, so I am. If you want to, you can follow me on my social media. I'll have those links down below. I post semi-regularly, not gonna lie to you, but when I do, it's always a worthy post. Also, I have a skincare business. You can find the link to my Etsy shop down below. Check me out if you would like to shop with me. And that's all the things. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day or night whenever you choose to watch this, and I will catch you in the next one.